Good morning to everybody, and thanks to the organizers for hosting our presentation. The widespread reception of ancient Egypt in science fiction novels, movies, and comics is well represented by the numerous papers offered at this most interesting conference. The presence of ancient Egyptian themes in such contexts is almost always accompanied by the employment of more or less realistic symbols that recall Egyptian civilization. Among them, 🀭, hieroglyph for life, in the typical shape of crux ansata or handle cross, is perhaps by far the most renowned, occurring as such in several fiction works involving ancient Egypt. An equally recurring character has been largely used, often together and sometimes in contrast with 🀭, but probably less evident, Djed, Osiris's backbone, shaped as a vertical pillar with a bottom base and 4 top horizontal elements, representing the stability of world's order and the concepts of endurance and rejuvenation connected with Osiris's resurrection. What follows is indeed an introductory investigation of the reception of Djed symbolism in the most recent and celebrated science fiction movies.
The fondest fans of the Star Wars saga, notoriously comprises since 1977 a series of epoch-making movies, serials, novels, comics, etc., will certainly have noticed a curious assonance between the word Djed and the name of the Jedi Order. In that fictional universe, the Jedis are members of an ancient sect of protectors characterized by their ability to harness the power of the so-called Force, a field of mystic energy pervading the universe. Adhering to a doctrine that favored the light side, that is, the positive side of the Force, the Jedi aspire to attain a state of inner tranquility through calmness and meditation, while avoided emotions affiliated with the dark side of the Force, such as anger and hatred. Nevertheless, for purposes of self-defense or in defense of others, the Jedis are allowed to use weapon called lightsaber, a blade composed of pure energy of different colors such as blue, green, purple, or yellow. There is a clear resemblance between the words Jedi and Djed. And indeed a popular and unofficial hypothesis claims that the creator of Star Wars, George Lucas, got inspired from that ancient Egyptian concept in creating his Jedi Knights. Lucas has often expressed a return to the ancient mythology and religions for inspiration, taking ancient concepts and redefine them for the purpose of creating the themes, storylines, and characters in the Star Wars movies. In fact, the entire backstory of Star Wars is based on raising up the Jedi to restore order and balance in the universe, just as in ancient Egypt, during the early Djed festival, an actual pillar was built and raised by the local priesthood on the first day of harvest season in order to evoke Osiris' power to grant the stability of the natural universe. A more concrete clue may be the fact that the original lightsaber used in the first Star Wars movies, even the newer versions, looks curiously similar to the shape of the Egyptian Djed pillars. A further suggestion comes from one of the stories recounted in the famous Westcar papyrus, Berlin Papyrus 3033, where a protagonist is a powerful centennial magician named Djed. He is endowed with a thaumaturgic skills, an ability shared with Star Wars Jedis, and prophesies the birth of children who will bring stability to the world. Just as in the fiction of 2005, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Padme's 2 children are destined to restore stability in the galaxy.
The Djed pillar cannot miss in such a stronghold of ancient Egyptian science fiction as Roland Emmerich's Stargate from 1994. The movie notoriously deals with the space portal connecting the Earth to an extraterrestrial planet, from which a declining alien race, provided with an advanced technology, came to ancient Egypt at the beginning of human civilization, being identified and worshipped as gods, their leader being Ra, the sun god. They transferred themselves into our ancestors' bodies to avoid extinction and used their technology to constantly regenerate their own biological tissues. Betrayed twice by a revolt of their human subjects, both in the past and in the present, the alien gods are eventually destroyed by the protagonist of the movie, who blow up their pyramid-shaped spaceship. The backstory is thus about eternal life, immortality, regeneration, resurrection, and we should not be surprised by the fact that among the Egyptian-like symbols reproduced on the coverstone of the portal, the eponymous Stargate, we see both Ankh and Djed. They are represented in a key place instead of air god Shu, in a variant of the famous cosmogonic scene of the separation of earth god Geb from sky goddess Nut. As seems clear also from the symmetric birds with raised arms represented below Nut and from Geb's details, the suggestion probably came from the depiction of this scene on the 21st dynasty Book of the Dead papyrus of Nistita Nebetawi, Cairo Papyrus 40017, where two male figures holding a combination of Djed and Ankh surround the main characters in an attitude of adoration. While in Stargate, Djed and Ankh cooperate, so to say, in representing the eternal regeneration of the ancient alien race and the maintaining of a stable connection between Earth and the outer space, the two symbols appear somehow opposed in a more recent movie, Bryan Singer's X-Men Apocalypse from 2016. The penultimate chapter of the successful pre-MCU Marvel's X-Men franchise is focused on the character of Ensabanur, also known as Apocalypse, the first mutant ever, who tyrannically reigned over ancient Egypt about 3600 BC and was worshipped as a god thanks to his ability of regenerating and empowering himself by transferring into other mutants' bodies and absorbing their powers. Betrayed by some of his human guards, Apocalypse gets buried during the collapse of his own pyramid-shaped regeneration machine until the 80s, when he is resurrected by some acolytes, tries to destroy the world in order to reshape it as he likes, and is eventually defeated by Charles Xavier's X-Men. The movie is surprisingly similar to Stargate in its general outlines. Superhuman Apocalypse takes his power from the sun's energy, just as the chief alien was identified with Ra and his solar symbolism. Both of them are considered gods and are flanked by guardians representing other famous Egyptian gods, and dwell pyramid-shaped environments, eventually destroyed after a revolt. The most striking analogy is in fact the theme of immortality, regeneration, resurrection, and universal control. Gigantic Ankh crosses are indeed depicted on the four faces of Ensabanur's regeneration pyramid, being part of the complex mechanism which conveys the solar energy to perform the bodily migration. Another one is incised on Apocalypse's own pectoral. This is pretty understandable, since the mutant's main power is connected to life. It is thus interesting that an equally gigantic Djed is reproduced on the stone block used by the rebels to destroy the pyramid. In a sense, they defeated the immortal tyrant by restoring the natural world order.
We are sure that Ankh and Djed can be retrieved in further Egyptian science fiction. But time constrains us to these meaningful cases, in which original symbolism is correctly recovered and purposely employed to regenerate the immortal appeal of ancient Egypt. Thank you for your attention.